this is Bryant, and welcome to another Reil review, and today we're going to be talking about our experience playing Sons of Faeriell. And Ryan, why don't you start us off today?
Sure.
Why don't you tell us, when would you bring a game like this to the table, or specifically this game to the table?
Yeah, well, I mean, we played through it in about 90 minutes-ish, and I think being relatively new to it, all of us, I think it's definitely time-wise, it's not a huge crunch compared to some other games. And, like, the actual actions themselves being not too complicated and kind of easily teachable, it's the interactions between all those, like, simple actions that makes it complicated. I think it's a pretty good game for either, like, if you're feeling like a medium-light strategy game, or maybe you have a couple or one or two younger players, like mid to late teens that want to, learn a new strategy game. Yeah, I think that would be when I'd be bringing to the table, because it's got that simplicity, but also that complexity kind of meshed together in it. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think for myself, it definitely feels like a medium weight game to me. Like, it doesn't feel light because there is a lot going on. There's a lot of different concepts in there, but like Ryan was saying, they're easy concepts once you get to them, right? It's like, you do your tribe phase, you're just going to buy some cards. You do your hero phase, well, your heroes have limited actions. You have 4 different actions you can choose from. You do your harvest phase, it's all automated for you, essentially. Like, there's little decisions you make here and there, but for the most part, easy, right? Medium weight game, like I was saying, it took us an hour and a half. I think if you added a 4th player, it would probably take longer. And what I would like to see is more competition between these achievements. I want to see if that makes the game take longer or not, right? So keeping it under that 2-hour mark, you could bring it out for a games night. Even on a weekly board game night, I don't think you would have to set aside like a specific night for this. But I think you certainly could set aside a specific night for this game and play 1 or maybe 2 rounds of it.
Okay. I think, I kind of go in a little bit the other way. I think this is something where the sort of game I would bring out for specifically, this is the game we're playing tonight. Because it's not super long, and I'm somebody who's really into long games, but this is something if I were on, let's say I'm doing a game night on a work night or something where I don't want to stay up super late, this is probably something I'd pull out 7 or 8 o'clock and play for a couple hours. Yeah. And then I'd probably call it a night. So it's not something I'd probably, if I wanted to do a bunch of quick games, this probably wouldn't be one of them, but I'd say, okay, let's play Thursday night, like tonight, we'll do this.
Yeah, and actually, one thing I want to add, because you guys wouldn't have realized this, but the setup time on this game is a little bit longer. There are a lot of little components to move out, and everything has to be randomized where it goes. So, like, all of your guardians start in a random location, and you have to have a random starting place for this, and that kind of adds to the setup time I found. So, I had this thing set up before you guys even got here, but it would definitely be a good idea to set the game up at least to, like, 3/4 of the setup finished, before your players arrive.
Yeah, and I think too that it is a medium weight. Like, it's not a super complex game, but I think it's complex enough. I wouldn't use it for if I was inviting non-gamers over.
Yeah,
I'd probably play this if the people I knew knew board games.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just start with Ryan. We'll just keep starting with Ryan.
Why not?
All right, so is there a particular mechanic in this game that you found were very strong? What was your favorite mechanic in this game?
Well, besides getting to put the masks on your
which actually is not a feature. Unfortunately, does not seem like it's a
qualified.
feature like this in the normal game. This is like a...
No, this is... I think the masks are now in the normal game.
Are they? Okay. The video I saw, they didn't have these fancy pieces.
Yeah, and I honestly, I don't know if this has a shelf copy or if this is a Kickstarter copy kind of thing. So you'll have to check on the Tabula website for that.
Yeah.
But
the way this one stands, that was really cool. Yeah.
But sorry.
So no worries. But what's interesting is, like, when I think of one mechanic that I really thought was the best, I can't actually pinpoint one. What I liked was, alluding to my earlier answer, that they all mesh together to give it that complexity. That's what I find is nice in games, not because it often keeps the time down, or you can teach it to newerish players or younger players, but like something like Terra Mystica too has a lot of elements going on, but even those elements are a little more complicated than this game. They combine to make the game
well integrated mechanics.
Mechanics. Like,
integration
it felt like even though you were forced to do each different aspect here every round, you usually had something to do. I mean, Bryant and I missed out on like one round, you know what I mean? But like, you were always able to do something with what was given. It was just finding how they mesh together, and with playing it more and getting a chance to understand it. I think that it would just get more interesting as you kind of see more of those interactions and stuff like that, So yeah, it was very cool that way.
So I think my favorite mechanic, if I had to narrow down one, I do agree with you. Like, there's a lot of simple mechanics. They do integrate really well together. I like the feel of the overall game. My one mechanic that I really enjoy actually is this phasing approach. So on your turn, you only get to do one of the 3 phases, and you complete that phase for your turn. But then on your next turn, you're forced to do a different phase, and you're forced to do all 3 phases in the round, but you can choose what order to do it. And what I was finding is that if I did a tribe phase action at the very beginning of round 1, I could then do my hero action and my event action to gather more resources, and then in round 2, I could actually do the hero action and event action first to gather even more resources to make an even stronger tribe action, right? And so like stuff like that I think is really cool. The fact that you're going to take these 3 actions as your next 3 turns, but you can change the order of them every round. I found that to be really neat.
Okay, cool. I think mine was very simple. If I'm going to narrow it down, I kind of, even though I barely leveled up my heroes on this game, I like the hero level up, how they do it. So it's kind of like how the way that you level up and your hero just gets these little abilities added to him.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's becoming stronger, more powerful. He's becoming faster. But it has such a variety of things you can add to it. Like your heroes are never really going to be the same hero every time you play them.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
So Ryan, if you had to change one element of the game, what do you think you would? Is there anything you could add to it? Do you think that might improve it a little bit?
Well, besides Matt's optional rule of not being able to doom us out at the end of the game, so we all lose.
So that is in the rule book.
It is an optional one, yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys watch the gameplay, I had 5 achievements, which triggers the end game, and then on Ryan's last turn, which was the last turn of the round, he doomed us out and managed to destroy the world of Faeriell, so everybody loses instead. There's an optional rule in the rule book that basically says if you want to play with it, then you basically, after somebody has gotten 5 achievements and triggers the end game, then you can't be doomed out like that. Which I think from now on I will always play with that rule because it felt bad.
Yeah, Matt's claiming I think the moral victory.
Yeah,
at least on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I would change if I had to change one thing is maybe something to do with the beacons and what they just call the spiritual totem.
The spiritual totem, yeah.
Totem. Just because they seemed very expensive for what... Like, you only have so many resources, right? You're getting a lot of them, but you seem like you want to allocate them towards a hero, or to building more settlements, or to getting the herb cards. Like, they didn't seem like... I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons why we doomed out.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It was very handy.
If
we had enough beacons, we might not have doomed out.
Yeah, like they seem effective, but also don't seem like they help you much. They kind of help the group more than they help you. So not a lot of incentive to really purchase them, especially early. Maybe that's just how we played the game because it's our, for first or second time playing the game. So maybe those will come in handy later. But yeah, just to change, maybe there is more hero powers that kind of interact with those. Again, we didn't go through all the hero power suits, there might be, but yeah, change up some element of those just to incentivize us to maybe get them a little more, or that's kind of what I would change, I think.
Yeah, I think to build on that point, if I can,
of course.
The totems are color specific and area specific. Once you build a totem, you don't move it. And maybe having a way to be able to move a totem would make them a little bit more...
Like even a hero ability or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, because like if you build the red totem and you put it in the owl's region, like there's incentive to it because now whenever you harvest in the owl region, you can gain the benefit of 2 instead of 1.
That way, which we didn't really...
So that can gain you more resources, but the only time you're going to gain the benefit of actually cleansing the owl is if the owl has a red menace on him, right? If you build the red totem, it only cleanses red, and it only cleanses from the owl because that's where you put it. Unless you
get the spirit totem.
The spirit totem, you can clear red anywhere. Right?
Then your point of it's expensive, right? And then once you have the spirit token, is somebody just going to take my spirit totem away from me, and now it's even more expensive to get it back, right? So I agree with you. I think the totems are a little bit meh. And my one other component that I would add to that is actually these masks. I feel like they're a really neat little idea, but I feel like that's a component that is eventually going to fail. I think just putting on, pulling off, eventually that plastic is going to deteriorate and the masks are just going to start falling off or something like that. I probably would have rather seen like colored bases for the miniatures instead.
Or
something
a combination of them, maybe.
Yeah, but I think they did it this way because it does pop really well. It does look really cute, and
there's got to be a way to just get more of them very easily.
Yeah, it's a catch, right? So they're cool, but I think that's going to be a component that ends up failing.
Yeah.
The other thing, and you guys wouldn't have seen this one, I actually got the miniatures for these animals, but I honestly think that these are almost better than the miniatures, in my opinion. Now I'm not a miniature painter, so all my miniatures are plain gray. These guys have the nice screen printing on them with the cute little animal artwork. So
okay,
I chose to use these instead.
All right. I think for me, the one thing where I ran into trouble that I would like to improve is kind of a Catan style where you can trade multiple essence for another essence. Because I did kind of get stuck on a couple rounds where I just couldn't get a single color, which meant I just couldn't buy anything for a while. I could get that essence. So it'd be nice if at least you could maybe trade like 3 to 1 like you do in Catan or something like that.
Yeah, and I think there is some mitigation to that. Like there's
but
there's
certain
buy those
without the color.
There's a couple of perks that you could pick up as well.
The only problem is I couldn't buy any of those without the color I couldn't get.
Yeah. So that starting area where you are, it's very important,
So
right?
like starting over again, I would have played it like one turn differently. Choosing my areas. Yeah. But I think it would be nice. I think if there was just a way to convert 3 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
cool. Overall. Yeah, that would be.
All right, that's it. Okay, so the next one is immersion into the game. How do you feel inside playing, like things like theme and aesthetics, and did you feel like you were there?
Well, just as a caveat, when I play games, I'm not like the most immersive person. As I kind of view it as a whole and like kind of more of a puzzle kind of view of the game. But that being said, it was really fun to like upgrade a red hero and have him travel around the world, and he like with his mask and his quests he's going on, like compared to some games where the quests are very complicated and like you have to have 3 of these things and 2 money and 5 backpacks and whatever and then go across the world. This one was just like, hey, you've got to go visit the owl.
The bear.
The bear. And then he gives you some resources and he says, thank you very much.
The best is when you have to visit the owl, and then the bear, and then the owl, and then the bear.
True. I mean, right now that would be so bad. It'd be literally
they can just jump around the bottom.
Yeah, fair. Sometimes it is luck to draw with those, but it just felt like the quests and the hero moving and being able to upgrade him, and felt very attached to the hero. Maybe not so much towards the settlements, but even then, like when my settlement in the toads land, it was like, oh, all hail the toad. Like, thank you for the resource. So there was immersion that way, and it was just a fun type of immersion. The game seemed fun, despite the Doom growing ever, more powerful. But it was just fun.
I think the Doom is actually something that gets me more immersed into a game like this, is because there is this like looming threat. And once we hit like 5 Doom on the Doom track, now you're pulling more threats out of the bag, and then you hit 10, you're pulling even more threats out of the bag. So you get that growing feeling of, oh, the end is coming, right? It's like it's all happy-go-lucky in the beginning, and the game feels very fun, and you're just moving around, and you're just doing your own thing, gaining resources. Like, oh, there's a bit of Doom here, that's fine. And then it starts to escalate very quickly, and it's like you hit 5, 10 Doom on the Doom track, and now it's like, oh, we have 1 round left, and then the world is dead. I'm in panic mode, and I need to solve this puzzle quicker and get my achievements. So I found that the Doom mechanic is actually quite immersive for myself, and then I love the artwork and the imagery of this world. Like I think Tabula does a great job of world building. I have a lot of their games. I play Ikeon, I play Mysthia. Great games. Super cool world. I think they do world building really well. So even if you don't get immersed while playing the game, they have a whole story set behind the world of Faeriell, and I think that's cool.
Okay. I think for me, I would say it's medium thematic. Now, I tend to put theme into any game I play. It's just how I like to play. So, but I feel like in terms of the innate theme, I think it was kind of medium for me.
Yeah.
So, like in terms of components, art, the world, and everything was great. Now, with the Doom tracker, I kind of like I don't feel the sense of impending doom. It's just suddenly you lose. So my game's not getting harder and harder and harder as this is progressing. I'm just getting closer and closer to the end of the game, right? Yeah. Where I like something like Uprising, where we really feel as the game progresses and more corruption and monsters are coming up, you feel that, right?
Yep.
And so I feel there was for me a bit of a disconnect between the Doom and the game.
Because this is just a track.
It's just a track.
And so there's no like
Yeah.
There's no like spreading corruption across.
It's like,
the map.
oh no, one of
Yeah.
my heroes died here. You know, it's like sort of a thing or something.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
see
there's
that,
no progressive feeling of doom.
And maybe we would have felt that more if I had actually made
If you
one
yes,
more
and that's the thing.
space,
We've never
and now I've
played
got
with the sower, the corruption sower, so that might
Yeah.
actually do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So.
Yeah.
All right. So overall impressions, Ryan.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good game. I think it was teachable, which is nice. It looks really nice. You know, there's no big critique, like mentioning the totems is like, I believe, is that the right word?
Yep. Yeah.
Totems?
Beacons.
Sorry, beacons.
Beacons and spirit totem. Yeah.
Beacons and totem. It was like a minor thing, you know. Overall, it's a pretty great game that looks nice and plays well, you know. So the overall impression is pretty great. You know, we don't have a rating system with like thumbs or stars or anything like that, but you know, I would definitely recommend this to both like an experienced gamer and somebody who's relatively new or getting into it, just because like it doesn't feel exactly like any other game too. Like it has elements, like it almost reminds me of I forget the name of it, but that area control
Small
in
World
Japan with the turtles and the
Rising Sun.
Rising Sun, like
Yeah.
it feels
Okay.
a little bit like Rising Sun, and it
A
feels
little less combat.
yeah, with no combat, yeah, true. And like it feels a little bit like some other games, you know, but no one game in particular. It's definitely unique, and yeah, that makes it even more fun for an experienced gamer. But if it's the first game you've ever played, or like fourth or fifth game you played as you're kind of getting into the hobby, I still highly recommend it. So yeah, overall, pretty great.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think much the same. I think Tabula makes very unique feeling games, and that's why I've been following them as a publisher. I think they did a really great job of this one, and yeah, the production value is normally really good from them. Their Kickstarter campaigns are normally pretty great, and I had a lot of fun playing this game. I want to bring this to the table more. I have a bunch of expansion content that we didn't even get into. There's dark or shadow masks that you can play with on your heroes. I'm curious about what that is. Little tweaks here and there that'll change the gameplay even further. I like it. I'd recommend it. I'd probably recommend it to somebody who's a little bit more into the hobby than a new gamer. That's just my take on it. But yeah, good game overall.
Yeah. I think for me, I had less issue with the beacons than they did. I think we just didn't take advantage of them to maybe the way we could.
So,
Well, I not only built them, but it served me well. I had to use it. So.
Yeah. No, there's probably more strategies.
Yeah. So, but that's one of the things I do like with this game. It's a good game that has a lot of different avenues and branches that you can do. So we did entirely different things to varying degrees of success or failure in my sense, in my case. But I like games where you actually have a lot of different avenues you can take. And again, you could just turn evil if you wanted in this game.
Yeah.
And that was really an option for Matt there.
I got close.
You got really close. Could have won by going evil. So so that's one great thing I really think is great with this sort of a game is that you just have a lot of options. And I do like things with I like complexity if it's not nonsensical, where there's just lots of options and lots of things you can do. So yeah, it's really good. So I would give it, let's see, I don't have a rating system.
Yep.
I was trying to think of a clever rating system. It failed.
It'll be a good out of good.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I think this is a game most of you will enjoy. So have a great time, and we'll see you next time.